This video will address the Fast Track manual, Selecta 2 Error Code 14 or Compass Pro Error 12, which are an ignition failure error. These instructions are intended to assist qualified, experienced service personnel only. Improper servicing of machinery may result in hazardous conditions, personal injury, or damage to property. Persons not trained or persons unfamiliar with Electrolux and Wascomat laundry machines should refer servicing to qualified personnel. Please have your Fast Track manual as additional reference while viewing this video. This error indicates that the gas ignition module failed to detect the presence of a flame after it attempted to light the burner. This can happen if no flame was established or if the flame was present but the flame sensor circuit isn't working properly. When the dryer's controller sends power to the ignition module, it opens the gas valve and presents an ignition spark. If a flame is not detected by the ignition module within a short period of time, between 5 and 10 seconds, it turns off the spark and the gas valve and sends an error signal to the dryer's controller. For this reason, this diagnostic video does not address heating issues that do not result in the display of an ignition failure error, such as might result from the dryer's ignition module not receiving power due to a fault elsewhere in the control circuits. The metal probe of the flame sensor conducts electrical current when exposed to the burner's flame. This signal is detected by the ignition control module, which turns off the spark and the gas valve if the sensor does not indicate that a flame is present in 5 to 10 seconds after the ignition attempt begins. The integrity of the sensor's electrical connection is therefore critical to proper operation of this system. The sensor must also be clean and corrosion-free. Also, check that air supply to the room and ventilation are compliant with the recommendations given in the installation manual. Note, it is normal for this error to occur when first starting up the dryer after either new installation or if any maintenance has been done on the gas supply system, since air in the gas line must be purged. In this case, when this error occurs, it must be manually reset by pressing the gas ignition reset button on the dryer's controller. Refer to your model's operating manual for the location of this gas reset button. Open the operating panel and press the gas reset button on the back of the control PCB for 1 second. Note, when resetting the system, the dryer must operate on a program with heat and the heat indicator must be on. The first step to diagnosing an ignition failure error is to check for the presence of a short-lived flame during an ignition attempt. Reset the gas ignition error and immediately check for an ignition attempt and flame. If no flame is established, refer to your Fast Track manual and go to Step 2. Continue watching this video until you see Step 2 on the screen. If a flame is established and the flame sensor rod is immersed in it, yet the ignition spark continues, or if the gas valve shuts off after 5 to 10 seconds of burning, a problem in the flame sensor circuit is likely the cause. Note, turn off the power to the dryer before handling the ignition electrode components. Clean the flame sensor with fine sandpaper or emery and check that the electrical connections at both ends of the flame sensor wire are tight on their terminals. Also, check that the flame sensor is properly positioned above the burner tube. Too much distance between the sensor rod and the burner, or contact between the flame sensor rod and the burner tube, will also result in an ignition failure. If the above items are checked and found to be in order, but the error persists, we recommend that you replace the ignition control module. Step 2. If no flame is established during an ignition attempt, check for the presence of a spark across the ignition spark gap. The spark can be heard as a clicking sound and can also be seen through an inspection port on most models. Verify that the ignition electrode spark gap is set and positioned correctly.
Pond 5.
Detailed information about the spark gap size and the ignition electrode position can be found in the service manual for the particular model. Also, check that the electrode is
Pond
clean
5.
and free of corrosion, and that the electrode's high voltage wire is tightly connected to its terminals at both ends. If the spark gap and high voltage wire are in
Pond
order
5.
and no spark is present during an ignition attempt, we recommend that you replace the ignition module. If yes, go to step 3. In step
Pond
3,
5.
we'll be checking the gas supply and pressure. Use your manometer to check the gas pressure on the supply side and the nozzle side. You must do this during an
Pond
ignition
5.
attempt. Based on our previous tests, you should be seeing a problem with the readings on your manometer. If your manometer readings are correct, we recommend
Pond 5.
reviewing the steps we've previously covered in this video. If the gas supply line pressure is okay, adjust the gas valve regulator or replace the valve
Pond 5.
to obtain a proper nozzle side pressure. Otherwise, contact the local gas company for additional support. If you need additional support for your machine,
Pond
please
5.
contact our technical care team via email or phone.
Pond 5.